Hello, Steve White, Steve Arts 89. Well, I have another little Fraggle project. I finally bought a Hasbro Softies Red Fraggle. This one had a couple little issues which I thought I could manage, and it was a good price and local. So I kind of felt like, well, she's sort of in Australia and my Moki's in Australia, so maybe they should be brought together. So the first thing I had to do was wash her because 20 or 30 years of being played with. So yeah, so that was the first issue, but because I didn't feel like I'd unstuff the arms, because the other thing I'm doing is I'm unstuffing her and restuffing her, because partly just because in order to wash her it'd take forever to dry, but also because I'm removing the legs so they can be reattached with like open sections, so you can put a wire down through her body into her legs so she can stand and have posable legs. So that's something I did with Moki. But with Moki it was a lot easier because she's got a fur body and no clothes sewn on. You could hide the edges of the seam just with hand sewing without an issue because of the fur. Because one edge, is fur, so you can hide it easily. And this doesn't have a wire in it, but I just have to get a wire to go into the head and through the body and down the legs and into the feet. I just haven't done that yet, but it's able to be wide basically, and that was the idea I was going to do with each of them. But the difference is Red has this dress, and I really feel like I need a sewing machine to do the seam properly. I could take it apart and sew it by hand, it would look okay, but since I don't have the wire to do it now anyway, there's no rush. But it would mean I could pull the stuffing out and replace it with new fresh soft stuffing, because this is a bit hard. And I'm talking myself into doing it now, aren't I? Yeah. It also will dry quicker because this is going to take forever to dry on its own. So she had two issues. One issue was, and on the eyes here, she's got the glue has yellowed, not the plastic, but the glue that joins them together, I think. So it almost gives her an eyelid like Moki and Kobo in a way. So I have two options. I can paint the back yellow and pretend like she's got eyelids like the others and just has really open wide eyes, or I can try and match the white and cover it, because I thought the eyes might be a bit yellow with most of them anyway, because Uncle Travelling Matt and Moki's eyes are painted and Gobo's eyes are painted. So Wembley and Reds were always going to be a problem because they're just white plastic and that tends to yellow, so I thought maybe I'll just match the paint and repaint them so I don't have to worry about them being yellow. So I thought I might have to do that anyway, so I thought, well, I'd seen this on eBay for a few years. She wasn't selling, unless someone sold her and resold her. I assume she's been on there the whole time. I thought, I can do that. The other issue was there was a stain on her foot, and I thought, I'm going to unstuff and, wash her thoroughly, so I'm sure that stain will come out, so I won't have to live with it. It didn't. So they've probably washed whatever that was off before, and it was worse. I just assumed it was just a fresh stain. I've bought some toys that were dirty and just one wash and they look like brand new, so I was hoping I'd have that situation, but I didn't. Now the only other issue with these is the inside of the material is lined with foam. If you're not careful you can easily tear it. It's not really attached properly. It's not really part of the material, it's just sort of like a lining, and once you do that it becomes very hard to make it look smooth. And unfortunately, before I knew this, when I was pulling the stuffing out, I kind of tore some in Moki, so you can see she's got a line here on her leg where I couldn't get it to smooth out again because there's like a line there. Unfortunately she's got a cloak, so you can kind of hide it, so it doesn't matter as much. But I've got to be a lot more careful with Red, but at least I know. Now comparing it to the other sort of best sort of Red figure, I think by Sababa, I think the name was. This one is smaller, the Hasbro one is bigger, which is what I thought. Now the eyes, right away you can see the eyes are just that little bit bigger, which I was hoping they would be. The head is a little bit bigger, the mouth's just a tiny little bit bigger, not so much on the top but on the bottom. The tongue's darker and felt, which looks nicer, but I think the lighter one's probably more screen accurate. The arms are shorter and the hands are smaller. As you can see here, there's quite a size difference. And the body's about the same. The tail's shorter. This one has a much longer tail and it's wired already, because I might remove the arms and legs off these ones and wire them later as well. This is sort of just a planned sort of project one day. But the legs are short, the same length, but the feet are smaller, which is kind of a bit weird. Hard to tell, but yeah. That's a little bit understuffed as well, but they're just that little bit smaller. So I was surprised by that. So she's smaller except for the feet, just that little bit bigger for the feet, everything else is smaller. And of course, they have the nicer material, because the Hasbro Softies all have the wool hair, and I'm keeping the wool hair for now. Now, my Moki doesn't have the original hair. It came off at some point. I don't know what happened to it. She was bald at one point. I replaced it with some emu feather, which looked really nice because I matched the colours. But of course, it degrades and came off, and she ended up bald again. So I got wool and put wool back on, and I pretty much matched the colour. There could be maybe a little bit more blue in there, but that's that. Red, if I can find material like this, I might replace all the Fraggle's hair, because this is just sewn on. It's like put together and sewn on, so it's that'd be easy to remove and put back on again. So I could always go back if I change my mind. So if I find something material like this that looks more like the Fraggle's feathers, which they have feathers for hair, not wool, I might do that. But in the meantime, I'm just gonna restuff her and sew her back together, and I have the option of putting the wire in later, and I might redo the arms. And I'm going to have the same problem with Gobo and Wembley, and Uncle Travelling Matt has the same issue. They've all got clothes that are sewn on. Unlike the Shababa one, or whatever it is, Sababa, this little dress actually comes off and the whole body's underneath there. And they did the same with Wembley. They didn't do it with Gobo. Gobo has his shirt sewn on. So, yep. But, okay, so that's my latest little Fraggle project. I have bought Wembley as well. He hasn't arrived yet. And I'm going to buy Gobo. The only one I will need then, unless I replace my Uncle Travelling Matt, because when I was drying him, I washed him a while ago and was drying him, the heat had melted his eyes, softened his eyes, and they're a little bit out of shape. Not drastically, but a little bit. So I might get another one of him. And also would allow me then to, like, do a tailored costume with little pockets and things, like, because it's just got pockets drawn on and stuff like that, and get little real mini boots and stuff like that. So I've got a couple little Fraggle projects, but Booba is the problem. Booba's the biggest problem, because Booba is harder to find and more expensive. So, and often comes with a box, which makes him even more expensive, which is nice, but, adds an extra 100 or so. So it'll probably be a while till I have the whole set, unless I want to really splash out on Booba. But I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of my latest little Fraggle project and the idea of restuffing and making the Hasbro Fraggles, able to be posed with wires and stuff like that. Is it worth doing? I don't know. And maybe replacing the hair with something that looks more like the Fraggles' hair. I don't know. But the wool is durable. That's the other thing. But I'm going to go. Bye. Okay, so yeah, I did talk myself into it. I ended up removing her arms because I just don't like the sewn shut sort of flippy flappy arms that the Hasbro and legs the Hasbro Softies figures had, dolls had, and by opening them up, you allow for wire to be put through to pose them, but also it just gives them a more, I don't know, real look. Like they look like there's really arms in there. The only other thing I'd love to do is if I could find a match for this material, I'd love to put the little edging or whatever around the hand, the sleeve that she has around the neck and the bottom of the dress, but she should also have on the hand like this one. So yeah, that's another little thing. So there's a couple little things I want to do, but yes, I decided I'm confident enough to hand sew this back on for now, and it's not permanent anyway. If I'm not happy with my own stitching, I can always sew it later when I get a sewing machine, which is on the list of things to do and get. But yep, so. But at least I was able to pull out the stuffing, so now it can dry it a lot quicker. And this is how much came out of just the arms. I find a lot of the older toys are overstuffed and they're a bit hard, and I like restuffing them with softer stuffing that's a bit less, and just makes them feel nicer and easier to store sometimes. But yeah, I'm gonna go and I guess come back with her put back together. Well, she's done. I have reattached her arms, I've reattached her legs, although now instead of being sewn through and sort of floppy, they are stuffed and full. both arms and legs, and I can put wire in her so she can stand and be posed later on, which I plan to do. Yeah, came up pretty well. I mean, I did hand sew, you know, the arms and that, and it's pretty good. There's only one little spot on the back there where it isn't really good stitching. The rest of it, you couldn't really tell that's not sewn by a machine, so I'm pretty happy with that. And I'm just not sure what to do with the hair. It just looks long. I feel like I need to try and plait it, maybe just once, and then put a bow in there, a pink satin bow or whatever, and that'll just be enough for the hair to sit up and not just be hanging down flat. But that's about it. And of course I'll still have to paint that line. Well, there she is. I can't believe it took me 35 years to buy a red to go with my Moki. But there they are. Finally together. Well, after 35 years, I finally have a Hasbro Softies red to go with my Hasbro Softies Moki. All these years Moki's been missing red, missing her best friend, and now they're finally together.